What's up guys, this is the Dragon King. If you do enjoy this video, comment down below and subscribe. Now let's begin this new video.
Yi Yu attempted to slice the strange box, but his blade just rebounded, leaving only a little cut in the mysterious box, while in the background, Qian Shongshan remained unaware that the sword was coming right at him.
Qian Shongshan screamed as he saw the blade just in front of his private part, and you could see a chicken protecting its private part from what was going to happen. Yi Yu just said that this chest is too tough to separate.
Qian Shongshan cursed in his head as he gazed at the blade, and he began to blame himself, saying that if he hadn't been able to overcome him, he would have murdered him. The hero had a lethal blade wrapped around his body as his eyes shone red in fury, and he muttered menacingly, "Let me cut it one more time." The enigmatic box had its own aura. Before he could cut it again, all of the disciples and Joji tried to stop him, pleading with him not to do it because he would ruin the contents of the chest.
Yi Yu had a bored expression on his face as he asked Zhuji Zhang why he should worry because it wasn't his box to begin with.
Zhuji Zhang became enraged and shouted in his head that Yi Yu was a fool, while Qian Shongshan remained stunned. Zhuji Zhang spoke to him in hushed tones, telling him that if he opened the box, he would share it with him. Yi Yu stared at the box with a greedy smile on his face and yelled at Zhuji Zhang. Why didn't he tell him in the first place? Zhuji and Shui Yan both looked at him and stated at the same time, he was shameless. Shui Yan drew closer to him immediately, and all the guys were captivated by her attractiveness and how gorgeous she was, and how they wanted to talk to her. "Who is this beauty?" one of them inquired. Meanwhile, Shui Yan ignored the stares and advised to Yi Yu that he direct the spirit force into the fifth silent point on the left and the third sank point behind the chest. The hero agreed, and the aura of the box brightened as it buzzed with vitality. The brightness of the box caused Yi Yu to shield his eyes. When he opened the box, he discovered a golden, gleaming book. Everyone was taken aback when they saw this book, which was Fire Flame Palm Mid, Greater Royal Skills. Everyone's expressions darkened as they realized that the martial arts of the four big families were only the top grade of the yellow stage. The hero closed the box in an instant, as he prepared to cut it again, as he exclaimed that if everyone wanted it, he will cut it into 4 pieces and give it to them. Their eyes popped out of their sockets. Yi Yu had a nasty smirk on his face, and everyone around him grabbed out to him and stopped him, shouting for him to calm down. Finally, Yi Yu was halted, and he asked them how they planned to distribute it without cutting it. Qian Shongshan yelled angrily that he would retain it and you would redistribute it when they returned to the city. Zhuji laughed and finished fourth, telling everyone that the Qian family is the most dishonest, and that he is supposed to retain it, and every disciple concurred. The silver-haired man yelled at him, telling him that the Zhang family is better off keeping it and that he would keep it, while another yelled back, "No, let me keep it." And they all started fighting each other in the background. Yi Yu just pretended to cough and questioned why they didn't listen to him. Someone asked him if he had a good idea while they were arguing. At that time, Yi Yu transformed into someone who is honest and frank, neutral and uncorruptible, who never takes sides. He advised that they let him keep it because he has nothing to do with them and will never take sides. Zhuji Zhang accepted with a big smile on his face. He assumed Yi Yu had come here with him, and it was first come, first served. Qian Shongshan objected, yelling about what qualified him to keep it. The hero slapped his hand on the desk and calmly told him that due to his abilities. After a few seconds, the desk split and shattered, surprising and shocking Qian Shongshan and the others. Qian Shongshan was sweating bullets as he cautiously informed him that he would think about it. The silver-haired man told the others that all of the disciples, including himself, were apprehensive now. That Yi Yu was honorable and powerful because he agreed with the others to let him keep it. He informed everyone that he would retain the book, but in his mind, he smirked viciously, thinking that they were all idiots and that this book of martial arts was his. Everyone went to their rooms to sleep in the middle of the night, convinced that it was all over. Qian Shongshan was infuriated as a burning aura covered his body as Yi Yu walked away. He cursed at Yi Yu and promised himself that he would murder him sooner or later. The silver-head man approached him and asked if he could assist him. Qian Shongshan looked at him with interest. Qian Shongshan approached him and told him that he backed Yi Yu's decision to keep the Jade Book right now. The silver-haired man revealed his actual intentions when he said they would steal it from him and then not share it with others. Qian Shangchen inquired as to what he want, and the silver-haired man smiled. He did the Orochimaru thing and told him that he is not interested in anything but that women, as he expected Shui Yan to be. On the other side of the ship, inside a room, we see both Yi Yu and Shui Yan talking to each other, with Shui Yan telling him that the most essential part about learning a martial art ability is feeling the rhythm of it. Yi Yu sat at his desk, reading the golden book. Okay, we can tell that the artist took his time drawing this lovely artwork. Anyway, the lovely blonde informed him that it was pointless for him to do so. Yi Yu merely smiled suspiciously and told her that he learned this method in his own way. His palm began to light gold and it began to buzz, and we can see these odd fighting maneuvers emanating from that unusual golden glow. And the hero reasoned that the creature book could impair the martial arts skill and allow him to see if it worked or not. Shui Yan mocked Yi Yu, telling him that if she didn't seal her own strength, she could achieve such skills in seconds, but Shui Yan thought it would be difficult for him. At that point, Yi Yu took a stance and yelled Storm-Tide Palm. And he directed his palm towards something, and a golden aura emanated from his palm as it slipped from his grasp. And Shui Yan was speechless because she couldn't believe Yi Yu had done it. Outside Yi Yu's room, 3 guys were sneaking about, and as they got close to his door, the silver-haired man said to Qian Shangchen that this person only has spiritual level power and no martial arts expertise, and that all they needed to do was get in and grab it. Before he could say anything else, he was cut off by the other guy as he tried to warn them, informing them what Yi Yu's spiritual level was, but before he could, he was cut off. Qian Shangchen said that what he was talking about was rubbish and encouraged them to just do it. As he kicked the door open, Qian Shangchen yelled that Yi Yu would die today. When Qian Shangchen kicked the door, his eyes shot out of their sockets, and he cursed that it would happen again. The Storm-Tide Palm technique was directed directly at him. The method erupted as it reached him, blasting Qian Shangchen away. Shui Yan was astounded that Yi Yu had grasped it so quickly. Why was there a man over there? Yi Yu exclaimed, stunned. Both the silver-haired man and the other were now sweating profusely. They both looked at each other and realized they were being watched. The hero was enraged as he yelled at them, believing they had come to blackmail him. He began to rant at them, telling them how young they were and how they should be ashamed of themselves. Everyone on the ship heard the explosion and hurried to Yi Yu's chamber to find out what had happened. The silver-haired man was frightened now that he saw Yi Yu was purposefully frightening the others. The silver-haired man looked at the other guy and told him to murder Yi Yu as soon as possible, without giving him a chance to fight back. But before they could act, 2 Chinese dragons materialized and charged right at Yi Yu.
He informed them he couldn't wait any longer as fire poured from his body and a terrible look crossed his face.
He adopted a position, preparing to fire another technique, which he did as he yelled for them to die. The silver-haired guy was taken aback when he realized this was the Storm-Tide Palm, and he pondered how Yi Yu had learned it. The other guy's eyes opened in surprise as well. In disbelief, he wondered, how could Yi Yu learn Stormy Tide Palm in such a short time? When the technique reached them, it burst right where they were. Another blast impacted the silver-head man, causing him to cough up blood in pain. Yi Yu merely laughed at them and inquired if they were still trying to sneak up on him. Shui Yan was surprised that Yi Yu could learn so quickly, and she wondered whether he could be the one because what she was seeing now was comparable to a flawless person. Is there a crystal body in an intrinsic cultivation body? Or is it the body of a primitive peddler? In disbelief, she asked herself. Who exactly is Yi Yu? Qian Shangchen emerged from the river. He sighed angrily and yelled, "Who the hell just attacked me?" Yi Yu grinned as he reminded him there was still one more. Qian Shangchen gazed at him with interest. As he launched a fire blast at Qian Shangchen's clothing were all destroyed. Qian Shangchen exclaimed in astonishment, realizing he was naked and cursing as he sought to conceal himself. Shui Yan just hid her eyes while screaming that he was a pervert. Yi Yu raced over to him and slapped him on the back, yelling at him that he was an eyesore. Other disciples were wondering if that was the young master of the Wang family, and they realized it was Qian Shangchen's bare body. The hero waved his hand as he cheerfully smiled and greeted everyone, and he informed them that he was here on business. All of the disciples were perplexed as to what Yu was on about. He pointed to the three on the ground, and the silver headman's eyes widened in surprise as Yu said loudly enough for everyone to hear that he has several thieves attempting to steal the martial art skill, and that he wishes to sell them now. In dread, the silver-haired man attempted to stand up and informed Yu that he is not a thief. The hero glared at him and kicked him in the stomach, asking him to shut up, and the silver-haired man was in pain. Yu clenched his teeth as he told them that the price begins at the spiritual level of elixir, and he inquired, "Are there any birds nearby?" All of the disciples became silent as they gazed at him oddly. Everyone looked about, knowing that no one would buy them and that he only wanted those idiots to ransom themselves. They were all aware that this was a robbery. Qian Shongchen yelled violently at him, saying he would never pay him so much money. A blade appeared in front of him, almost stabbing his private portion. Qian Shongchen's eyes widened in fear. Yu approached him with an evil smirk on his face and an awful aura covering his body, telling him maliciously that he would have to deal with them himself. Qian Shongchen was drenched in sweat. Qian Shongchen yelled out, promising to give him 2 spiritual elixir. With a wicked grin, he asked the silver-haired man, "What about him?" The silver-head guy was taken aback. He had not expected the hero to seek something from him as well. The silver-haired man was sweating bullets as he screamed in terror, promising you 2 spiritual elixirs as well. Yu was instantly thrilled, and he told him that it was a done deal, and the dark aura that had surrounded Yu had also vanished. The hero approached Zhuji Zhang and informed him that the chamber had been broken. He asked him if he could find him another room. Zhuji nodded uncomfortably. And all 3 of them went away, without hearing what the other disciples were saying. For example, one of them told the others that Yu could make the heist look so natural and responsible, and he urged the others that they should learn from him. "We can see a large ship traveling in the sea, but there is also a little boat going away from the larger ship. And we can see 2 persons inside the little boat." Yu and Shui Yan were there. Shui Yan was sitting peacefully inside the boat when she asked him whether he was attempting to flee. The protagonist responded by telling her that once they arrive at their destination, they will not leave, and you can tell he was becoming tired by the sweat on his brow. As she gave him the package containing the elixirs, Shui Yan grinned and told him that they were for spiritual elixirs and that they were enough for him to activate a little in the spiritual level. The disciples were looking for Yu and Shui Yan when they spotted them and yelled for everyone to stop him since they couldn't let him escape. The other prepared to fire his bow while commanding the others to discharge their arrows and shoot him down. And all the arrows were fired at him, but they miraculously missed the boat, and Yu cursed, realizing that they had been detected, and he sped up the boat to move quicker. And arrows began to rain down on them, and the gorgeous blonde screamed in terror. She begged the hero to keep the boat steady because she was panicking. Both Yu and Shui Yan were able to escape the disciples 2 hours later, but you can clearly tell that the hero was fatigued, but both Yu and Shui Yan were glad that they were no longer in danger. The hero swallowed all of the tablets, claiming that he needed to heal. The blonde was taken aback when the protagonist took all of the elixirs. Shui Yan nervously grinned and questioned Yu whether he drank all the elixirs at once. His stomach enlarged after a few seconds. Yu yelled in agony, wondering what was wrong and whether his stomach was ready to explode. He was now running around crying, thinking his stomach was ready to explode. The blonde yelled at him that it was because he had taken too many elixirs, and she instructed him that he needed to control his body's energy and absorb it or his body would explode. At that point, the hero realized that because he possessed the golden scroll, he could do it, and he immediately began to cultivate. And his stomach began to contract. Shui Yan was taken aback, wondering how he could absorb it so quickly. The blonde wondered whether he did heaven martial arts. Yu smiled and rose up, delighted that the spiritual elixir is indeed magnificent, and he was assured that he would soon reach the main stage of spiritual level. The blonde looked at him and inquired whether he had decided on a guardian spirit. The hero chuckled and told her that he was a genius and that his guardian spirit must be the most powerful. Shui Yan smiled peacefully and told the hero that the strongest guardian spirit is a piece of paper that encompasses the entire universe. and it has the ability to traverse the galaxy and shape the world. As he questioned her about a piece of paper, Yi Yu was perplexed. He told her it was impossible since he didn't believe her. Shui Yan went on to say that he could create an unlimited number of worlds on paper, but only if he spends 3 reincarnations in one day will he be able to own it. Guys, I think I understand who she is talking about. I mean a being that can write worlds on paper. She must be talking about novel writers or writers in general. Ho! Wait a minute, does that mean Yi Yu is a being with the power to create the world? Remember, guys, Yi Yu went through 3 reincarnations. Yi Yu was overjoyed when he heard this, and he wondered whether he could spend all of his reincarnations in one day. He sat down and began to consider that if he picked paper, people would be suspicious, so he suggested to himself that he take a pen so that he could draw everything. But he realized he didn't learn art, so he came up with another concept. He thought he could construct sand sculptures, and how the sand will attack with your hand signals, and he thought this was not a terrible idea, and at that moment, he realized something, that this skill looks a little familiar. Chibi Gaara emerged and scowled at him as he stated this. Shui Yan warned him not to fantasize after the blonde splashed water on his face, and Yi Yu yelled in astonishment since the water was chilly. She then expressed her want for his guardian spirit to be a holy beast, allowing him to compete with powerful individuals. Yi Yu said that she has low expectations of him because those people cannot be compared to a genius like him. When Yi Yu had finished cleaning his face from the water, he spotted Shui Yan doing something. The lovely blonde posed sexily for him and instructed him to keep pleading. That instantly charmed the hero, who exclaimed how sexy Shui Yan was. Yi Yu had hearts in his eyes as he approached Shui Yan and informed her that they were so close that he proposed they do something nice. Shui Yan questioned him, "What do you want me to do?" Yi Yu smiled and stated it's about a crazy communication between her personal part and his personal part, and he'll end up with a clear stream following into her body, and she'll realize the harmony between him and herself. She became enraged. She yelled at him, "No more bullshit," and threatened to break the seal to kill him. And she kicked him so hard that he fell off the boat and yelled in pain. That's all for now.
If you did enjoy this video, like, share and subscribe for more, and have a great day.